Yep, here we go. Welcome back, friends. Welcome back. Hi. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Samantha. Welcome back, Steve. Hi, Anna. Thanks for waiting for so long. Juwan, am I saying your name right? I always want to get people's names right. If I get it wrong, call me out on it. Hi, Jasmine. Great to see everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. So everybody was on the training yesterday? Yes? I mean, oh, Jasmine wasn't cool. Okay, most people were. Just in case, let's just take a moment and throw ourselves back to yesterday. If you were on yesterday's training, something that you learned, and then something that you're hoping to learn. We're a smaller group today, so I love these smaller conversations. Unmute yourself, share something that you learned from yesterday. Jasmine wasn't on the call, so we're gonna like catch her up, give her a reason to watch the replay, and or just type something in the chat, something that you're hoping to learn today. There will always be time at the end for Q&A. I'm going to answer some really high level stuff from the beginning, but I just like to know, especially, hi, Rochelle, in small groups. I love to know who's here and what do you want? What do you need? Okay. So Monica, you were on the call yesterday. I saw you along and some comments. What are some of the things? What's something that you took from yesterday's session?
I think one of the most important things I thought about was like, who needs to hear my message? You really need to hone in on that when you're writing. And then just understanding, like, you do have the authority to write the book, but what does that mean to you? And how can you relate your experiences to make it more impactful?
Yeah, I love that.
Thank
And
you.
this is an ongoing process, right? Like it's not a, oh, I heard it, great. Next day I'm supposed to have this fully integrated and be able to pull it off. We are, I don't know about you, but that's the story I tell myself. I'm like, I heard it, I should be able to be 100% successful. I learned about this yesterday. Why haven't I read my book today? Oh God, you didn't say that out loud. Feel the feels. Um, Today I might be a bit emotional. It's been a week. We are humans, we make mistakes. I have made mistakes this week. Okay. And I love that you bring up authority because it's so interesting. I have a story in my head of like, if I can talk about this, it means I have to have been impeccable my whole life, have multiple PhDs, XYZ, TED Talks, Oprah and I are besties, and da 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 da. Okay. And without that, I am not there yet. Notice there's a yet, which opens this possibility. Okay. But I still have things to share. I love watching people come in. Anita, Rebecca, welcome. Kristen, love it. Leah, BB. Today's Valentine's Day. So I love that you're spending Valentine's with me. The second book I ever published is a book called Date Yourself. Okay. I love this book. I read this book annually. I wrote this book. That's my face when I didn't have any hair. I wrote this book. Do you know who needs this book? Me. Okay. I still need to read this, practice this. And I'm like, oh, that's good. I should do that. That was a really good idea. Who thought of that? Okay. And so this is a journey. Awesome. Thanks for all the love in the chat. I appreciate you all. Somebody else want to unmute something that you learned from yesterday, something that brought you back today? I can't hear you, sweetheart. Guan, I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear him? Okay. I don't know. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm going to come back to you because I can't hear you. Even when you're unmuted, I can't hear you. Try again. Still can't hear you. Don't know why. I'm going to circle back to you though, okay? I love tech. Isn't it fun? Does anybody else want to say something? So sorry. If I would love to hear what you have to say in the chat if we can't get your mic working, okay? Anybody else? Something brought you back. It could be a question or it can be something that you want fleshed out from yesterday.
Just in general, it felt really inspiring. And I kind of like held me accountable to keep my goals, which I really appreciated.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah. I just let you into our community. So when you get a chance to look around in there, we're dropping a 28-day writing challenge that's going to start on Monday, and to like take that accountability and move it up a notch. Okay. We all need it, and we can all benefit. I think of it, one of the logos for our company is like a drop and a ripple. We are not responsible for the tsunami. All we need to do is put in our drop and let that create the wave and let it reach the right people. But you know what happens if we're all putting in our drop? That's a big ass wave. Okay. And I get to ride your momentum and you get to ride my momentum, and we rise together. And so that's the idea of creating collective momentum. Has anyone ever felt like they had to do it all by themselves? It's a lot of work. I can't do it. I can't. I'm probably going to cry today. I apologize. I cannot do it all by myself. And none of us needs to.
Yeah, I think that's, community is what I'm looking for. It's just other people out there doing the same thing.
Awesome, Anna. Are you in our free writers community? Did you join yesterday?
I did.
Perfect. I look forward to seeing you in there. So, because that's what we need, right? Among other things, we need resources, we need accountability, we need the tools, we need somebody to say, hey, have you thought of doing this? Or I see where you are. I made that same mistake. Try this instead. Here for all of it. Okay. Okay. Guwan says, after yesterday's session, I learned to get involved with the other writers and ask for their opinion instead of just asking my family. Oof. How many people really don't need to hear from their family about their writing?
I'm writing
Well,
about my family, so I
right,
really don't need to
definitely.
hear from my family.
Last person I want to hear from. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we've got community, we've got motivation, we've got this awareness to discover our own authority. I said it yesterday, I say it probably once a week. The root of the word authority is author. Authority. You become the author when you tell the story. You have authority now because you have a story. You become more of an authority when you share your story out. Okay. Right, Steve? I'll send my family my book, right? Love note. Bye. No, and we can love family. When this came up yesterday a little bit, and it could come up today in terms of like when we ask for feedback, who we ask for feedback from in the editing process. And then I really very much move into the publishing conversation today. Who we ask for feedback, when we ask for feedback, and what specifically kind of feedback we hope to get is really, really important. Please, please, please never hand your book draft to someone and say, what do you think? And just like anyone, what do you think? This is my heart and my soul on the page. Have at it. That's not a fair question to ask anyone. If somebody asks me that, I say, great. What kind of feedback do you need? What kind of encouragement do you need? Do you want me to rip it apart? Do you want me to tell you you're amazing? Do you want something in between? Do you know that there's a weak point on chapter 7? Tell me what you need so I can help you. I know when I need to find a typo, I send something to my dad. When I need to have somebody tell me that it's wonderful, I send it to my mom. In this book, actually, this book is called a typo. I love my dad, but my dad has repeatedly sent me messages saying there's a typo on your website. Okay, fabulous. Thank you. Not only does that like create like childhood wounds, fear stuff. I'm like, great. Which word, which page? I don't know, like, are there 300 different landing pages on my website by now? Probably. Somewhere in the expression of myself on the internet, there is an error. Awesome. Thanks a lot. I can't work with that. I can't move through that. That's just my story. Cool. and improving as a writer. We are here to improve as a writer. We are all here for that. And I'm going to speak for myself, but this, as the community that I create, we make sure we're showing up for each other. Will we make mistakes? Probably. Guaranteed. Will your mistakes help you learn? I hope so. Can we like screw up and then say sorry? I hope so. Okay. But the intention is we are here for each other. We are here for each other's sharing, growth, betterment, personal and professional, so that you can get your short story into the world. Okay. Oh God, I love it. I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation for you about publishing. Yay, yay, more presentations. I realize that this is probably ahead of where almost everybody is. Can you see this now? What? Yes? Okay, cool. I want to share this with you partially to give yourself a context of the future and calm some things in your mind as you are writing. Is anybody actively in the writing process, like in the publishing process? I saw a couple of questions about like, how do I get a publishing deal? But if you are actively in the publishing process or seeking a publisher, I want to know that in the chat real quick. Otherwise, I want this just to be laying a foundation for the future. We talk about a book like a baby, okay? If you are in the ideation stage, you're just thinking about it. If you are in the planning or drafting stage, then you're like pregnant. Whether you're male or female, you are pregnant with a story and you are bringing it to life. I think of publishing like birth. And I think of everything that we have to do for a book after publishing, like raising the baby. Make sure it can walk, talk, maybe go to college or be able to live on its own, right? Those are our goals. Excuse me. When I was pregnant, I live in South America. I live in Colombia. I'm from the United States, but I live in Colombia, South America. And 10 years ago, I was walking down the street, belly hanging out. Somebody walked up to me and she said, "Where's that going to school?" I'm sorry, what? Where's my fetus? Where's my fetus going to school? She's like, yeah, you should really think about that. You should get it on. Like, I don't want you to be worrying where your unborn story is going to college. Okay, what I'm going to share with you today is to help you have a really high level understanding. What are your publishing options? Because there are multiple. And what generally goes into publishing, so that you are informed as you go into this process. Does that make sense? And does that feel appropriate? Jasmine, you are in the publishing process. Super good. Okay, submitted to a publisher so far. Great. Thinking of self-publishing, also a good option. Platforms, we will talk about all of this. If I don't, I'm going to go through the presentation. If I don't answer your question, let's make sure to ask again at the end. Okay. Believe you should hire experts for things you can't do. Definitely don't know how to publish. Fabulous. Okay, this will be fun. I love your questions. Keep them coming. We're a smaller group today, so I probably will be able to have a closer eye on the chat and we'll go from here. First of all, I want to make sure we all understand the difference between fiction and nonfiction, okay? Because as you are writing and as you are publishing, they are very different animals, okay? They're as different as a polar bear and a unicorn. Okay, and I really like this metaphor because nonfiction is sort of, air quotes, things that really happened. And fiction is anything that happens in our imagination, okay? This came up as a question yesterday. As a publishing company, we do a couple different things. As we help people write their books, we help people publish their books, and then we help people create impact with their books. I'm going to talk about those three different things. We are a nonfiction publishing company, so we only publish nonfiction. But in the writing space, we have a number of fiction writers because a lot of what we need is, like we said, the tools, the camaraderie, the community, the accountability, okay? So we have space for everybody in the writing space. When it comes to, can we publish your book with you? We publish nonfiction exclusively, and I'll explain a little bit why in a bit, but how you package it, how you market it, how you get it into the hands of the people who need it is different, Okay. Any questions about fiction or nonfiction while we're on this slide? Does everybody know the difference and which they're writing? Cool. I want to make sure that when you think of nonfiction, you don't have to say like, well, it happened on a Wednesday, so can I say that it happened on the weekend? Yes, yes, you can. Okay, creative license when you're talking about something exists in nonfiction. This is not like a court record transcription of what happened. This is a recounting of, and it still has story in it. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up. It's a question that comes up a lot of like, well, I can't write this story because if I tell the world, this is sort of actually a direct quote. If my stepmother reads this chapter, all of the relationship that I've worked so hard to build will be over. Okay, well, we could change the character. Okay, we can change who said, who did, who, what. Okay, change a character from male to female. And if they say, how dare you write about me? You say, well, I wasn't writing about you. If they claim it, then it's on them, right? Okay, just a thing that comes up a lot. Really, really high level. Okay, I just want to give you a broad overview. There are 3 kinds of publishing options. There's traditional publishing, which is how things were pre-internet. There is self-publishing, where it's on you, you sort it out. There are platforms that can help you. And then there's things in between. The things in between are a little bit trickier because it's just not one set thing. Hybrid or indie publishing is a fusion of some of the self-publishing stuff and some of the traditional publishing stuff. We are a hybrid independent publishing company. We are a legit publishing company. We have our own LLC. We have our own publishing trademark, but we're in between. So traditional publishing, I've talked to a bunch of folks in traditional publishing, querying agents and so on. They're very much, it's a business. Of course it is, okay? So in order to get a traditional publishing deal, and this actually information is now 3 years out of date. The folks I talked to at Penguin Random House, they said, we don't even talk to somebody if they don't have more than 90,000 followers, because we want to make sure that books will sell. And so somebody needs to come in with an audience. To get a traditional publishing deal, you usually need to first get an agent who then approaches the publishing houses on your behalf. And that querying process is a process in itself. I've made a tiny little flow chart that I'm going to share you in the next slide. If you get an agent and they get you a deal, it's 2 years for the publishing company to then put your book out. And the agent takes 30% of whatever you earn. And contracts usually then offer 5% of the royalties to the author. The publishing house, because they took the risk from the beginning, takes the profit at the end. This is why traditionally published books are considered more, it's very exclusive and it's a hard thing to reach. Self-publishing, I'm just going to go to the opposite side and then we'll meet in the middle. Self-publishing is very much as it sounds. You do it yourself. You do it all yourself. Anything that needs to be done, you either need to do yourself or hire someone. As Anna was saying, like, there's things I don't know how to do. Good. Unless you want to learn how to do all of those things. Do you want to learn how to format a book? Do you want to learn cover design? Do you want to learn categories and keywords and metadata and book descriptions? You could. I've learned it all because I really, really, really geeked out and wanted to learn it all. You can learn it all. It is labor intensive. You then do have full control. You have full responsibility. You do earn 100% of your royalties, which is nice, but we're going to talk about what that really means in a bit. And then it's easily accessible. Every single one of us could publish a book on Amazon today. Juliana, maybe we should, Juliana, can you change your name? Because you look like me too. I wonder, would it be interesting to anybody, I'm just having a thought now, I wonder if we did a masterclass on like publish your book today as an experiment, right? Like take a PDF, any 5 pages. We're going to publish a book on Amazon today just to walk through all the steps. Could be really fascinating. Because I kid you not, anybody could publish their book today. Would it be very good? Not necessarily. Case in point, I know of a person who took 7 pictures of his feet, called the book, That's My Feet, put it on Amazon, got bestseller, and got a lot of reviews, proving that self-publishing is possible, but it's also sort of ridiculous. Okay, so we can do that. But this is why during the pandemic, 6 million more books were put out. And now with the rise of AI, people are just putting sort of trash out. You can, it's super accessible. But like we talked about yesterday, and I look at each of you, we're not here to like make mass market trash. Anybody here mass market blather and not really share any soul? Monica's not about it. Jennifer's not about it. I don't think so. Okay, me neither. But I do think it could be actually a really fun exercise to be like, hey, we're going to spend 90 minutes. We're all going to walk through and publish a book. You can take it down. You don't have to worry about it, but now you know that it's possible. Hybrid is the space in between, okay? It's, in my opinion, okay, I'm totally biased, but my opinion, it is the fusion and the best of both worlds. It's the professional quality, it's industry experts, it's people who do this for a living, who live and breathe key categories and keywords and ISBN numbers. Nobody needs to know what that stuff is. You don't need to know. But we have faster turnaround times. All our authors, and this is not true of all hybrid publishing companies, but all authors earn 100% of their royalties. So if you are pitching to a publishing company, a couple people are already doing this. There's a bunch of things that I want to make sure that you ask yourself as you're approaching these contracts, because they really are contracts. I was offered a couple of traditional publishing deals early on, and I read them closely and I was like, I'd rather not. Okay, so this is the way oversimplified process of a traditional publishing deal. You need to make a book proposal, which is usually a 60 to 80 page document that is very research based. It's very specific. You can Google what goes into a book proposal, but it's really intense. Okay. You then query agents, which is basically, I think of this relationship as sort of like dating and then getting married. Querying agents is dating. You find agents who are looking for books like yours, who have relationships with publishing companies you want. You send them a proposal and your 80-page document saying, this is it's basically a business plan for your book. Because that's what a publishing company wants. They want to know that they're going to make their money back and more. If you get the agent, they get 30%. They get you a publishing deal. I'm just jumping like 2 years here. Then you wait 2 years for the publishing company to put your book out, and then you publish your book. Okay. Yeah. A lot of folks, I think some good things come out of the traditional publishing process. I'm not trying to shit on it completely, but it's really inaccessible for so many people. This is why I love, where we are now. I want to give you a really high level, again, what goes into the writing process, what goes into the publishing process, and what comes after. I can't tell you how many authors I've talked to who've put their heart and soul and years of their lives and money invested in drafting their manuscript and or publishing their manuscript. And then the day the book comes out, they're like, I'm done. I am exhausted. Imagine giving birth and being like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to have anything else to do with this. I'm out. Okay. Postpartum publishing is like a real thing. And I want to make sure that everybody here realizes that writing is a third of the process, publishing is a third of the process, and then actually showing up for the book and your message and your audience is another third of the process. So you want to ration your energy. Every book that's ever going to be published needs to be edited, preferably by an actual professional. I've said this before too. We've published books written by editors. Do you know who they need? They need an editor. Every single person, even if you are an editor, needs an editor. Then you need a cover design. The book needs to be formatted, which means the actual document starts to look like a book. The first time I did this, I took a PDF to a print shop and it just looked like a PDF that was printed and it was devastating. No, so don't do that. So it needs to be formatted. There's software for this. There's options. Positioning has to do with getting it set up on the right platform so that people can find it in the right categories, so it has a chance of maybe hitting bestseller. Positioning is really important. And then the launch, letting people know you have a book. After that, it's how do we want to show up for our story? And I'll dig into that again in a second. This is just another way to see the same thing. Editing, cover design, formatting. Your book description is really important. You'll need more than one. The one that goes on the back of the book is short. The one that can go on Amazon can be a lot longer. And this is your elevator pitch. This is your one moment to tell people what's inside, who's it for, what's the reader journey. All of that stuff we did yesterday about your core message framework. Who's your audience? What are they struggling with? What will they be? What's the promise? That stuff goes into your book description. Setting it up for print and distribution on whichever channel or channels you want to do, launch and publish, okay? And I'm sharing this and I'm gonna repeat it. You're gonna hear me say this 4 or 5 times. You're like, why is she repeating herself? She just said that. Because there's so many parts that go into it. And if you're looking for a publishing company or you're planning on doing it yourself, I want you to know what you're getting into. I want you to have this information. So if you're negotiating a contract, you say, hey, well, what about launch strategy? Do you offer me anything on launch strategy, or am I just dumped and I have to figure it out, right? When it comes to marketing the book, do you do anything to help me market the book? Or do I have to pay another $10,000 for you to put me in your newsletter, right? Is this helpful so far, or is it freaking everybody out? Helpful, Jessica? Okay, Jennifer, sorry. Monica, great. I hate this question, but I think I have to ask it. What's worse than never writing your book? We talked about it yesterday, like getting stuck in the writing process. That would be horrible. It would be so sad if we never really shared what we came here to share. But it's even actually really recently that I've realized there's something worse than that. Any ideas? What's worse than not getting your book out? Writing it and not having it published. Yeah, not promoting it, never getting it published. Hi, Wendy. Never getting it seen. Yeah, having somebody else sort of publish it before you. I've talked to at least 20 people who have written their books, published, done everything they thought they were supposed to do, and been either embarrassed by their books, disappointed by the project, or just feeling so bad about the whole process, they wouldn't tell anybody that they even had a book. And it happens. And it's probably even happened to us once, but it's rare. It happens. So one of the reasons I share this is because I want to make sure that a lot of these, like none of this stuff I knew, okay? So before I wrote my own books, before I went seeking publishing, before we built our own company, I was just feeling around in the dark, which is what a lot of people do. They like take a step and then they figure out, oh, what's the next step? I don't know. Some people asked yesterday about how folks come to work with us. They apply, they say, hey, I'm interested in learning about what you do, how you work. We have a call to see if we're a good fit. We like to read their manuscript, okay, to see, is it ready? Does it need some more writing? We offer a contract and a payment plan, and then we walk them through all of these steps that we've talked about, okay? And how do I start a publishing company? That's almost another conversation. Oops, can you hear this?
Taken care of the scariness of the unknown, this publishing world. I'm having my hand held through the whole process. It's just one step at a time. There's a community. So if I need something, I have it from a community. There are calls each week. So if you have a question, you're just not left alone. And I don't have to know what the next step is. they're feeding me the next step in bite-sized pieces. So I am thrilled and would recommend anyone who's even just thinking about a book. I came to them with a book written, but you don't even, you can just have an idea and they'll take you from beginning to end. So I can't recommend them enough. I love them. And if I ever write another book, this is who I'm going to stay with.
Okay. This is actually just a screenshot of a document that I share with our authors, because not only are there like, we need to edit, we need to have a cover design, we need formatting, we need this. This is our launch. Like, how do we create awareness of your book? And feel free to take a screenshot of this if you want. I sort of share this publicly, but there's a lot of things that go into it, even after the content is beautiful and it's like ready to go physically. How do we create the momentum? How do we get people aware? And one of the things, you maybe saw me do this on the call yesterday too, if there's all these steps, and how do we do the steps in the right order? But how do we also acknowledge our progress? How do we celebrate the small wins so that we can keep on going? So this document I made for our authors, here's the launch milestones. And before they even do any of these things, I say, how will you celebrate when you've built your launch plan? How will you celebrate when you're seeking blurbs? How will you celebrate once you have a marketing plan? How will you celebrate if you hit bestseller? Okay. We do all of this work, and if we don't slow down enough to acknowledge the small steps, we're going to burn out. This picture, this ridiculous picture of me, was November. When we published our 60th book, I commissioned a cake. And so each of these is a book. And I ate the cake. I ate our books. And so it was just me attempting to celebrate some of the wins. So I'm actually going to skip through some of this because I like the questions that you have. And this is the piece that I want to talk about. Okay. How many people think I'm going to write my book, and then whether I self-publish, I get all the royalties, or a traditional publishing company, I can live on the royalties of my book? Is anybody hoping that they can live on the royalties of their book? Monica knows she can't. She might not. Okay. Maybe she can. I'm not going to rain on that parade, but I really want you to, let me back up. How much does a book cost when you buy it on Amazon? 20 bucks, right? Maybe. It costs $5 to print that book. Amazon takes $5. Amazon's then also the bookstore, so they take another $3 to $4. For every book that you sell on Amazon, you could make $6 to $10. Okay, that's not bad. But if you could have a product, would you have a profit margin of $6 and be like, yeah, I'm going to go sell oranges on the street and I'm going to make $6 a bag? Does that feel good in your body? A little bit, kind of. When you are an author, and this is where we move into the impact part. When you're an author, the things that you can do to have a larger impact and certainly a larger income include speaking, coaching, hosting retreats, consulting, online courses, other ways of drawing people to you. If your book is already about some work that you do, this will get you more clients, right? Okay. Getting paid to travel and speak, featured destination retreats, Wendy, right? Okay. And this is why we publish nonfiction, because the transition from book to this is a very smooth transition. It's a different process for nonfiction, but this is super important. And we have authors who are getting paid $2,500 for a keynote, $5,000 for a keynote. One of the authors that we just worked with pitched for a $7,500 keynote. Okay. I would like to be paid $7,500 to talk for an hour anywhere. Okay. I do that once a month, and my royalties will still be a couple $100s a month. but they're not comparable at all. Okay. You can sell your book on your own website, but then do you have a box of books in your garage? Do you need to go to the post office every time somebody buys a book? You can make up to like $15 per copy when you're selling it yourself. And we talk about that strategy too, which is good. $15 is good. But if you could be making $1,000 or $5,000 doing something that you also liked, I just want to plant this seed in your mind. So a year from now, or a year after your book is out, you have this possible path for something else. Okay. That's not to say that you need to be in this for money, but you are going to throw down in the writing process and you are going to throw down in the publishing process. It is a lot of love and energy and an investment to publish a book, whether you do it all by yourself or you work with a company, it is a lot. And I want to make sure that you know that you can be earning money on the backside of your book. Okay. Here's a cool example. Motherland is a book that we put out last year, came out just before Mother's Day of last year. It's one of the books that won an award. I talked about this bookstore, The Tattered Cover in Denver yesterday. It's one of my favorites. I called them. I'm going to be hosting an event there in April. And they said, oh, cool. We're looking for local authors and we want to feature local authors. I said, well, great. 7 of the authors of this book live in the Denver, Boulder area. They said, good. We would like to invite them to do a Mother's Day book event at the Tattered Cover. Okay, cool. This is an awesome opportunity, but it's then you showing up for your book after the fact. Okay. Anthologies are another way to get published. It's how I first got published. You write a chapter in a book instead of a whole book. It's a smaller time investment, a smaller energy investment, financial investment, and you get to learn the whole process. It's one of the reasons we love our anthology projects. And you saw all this yesterday. We've published 60 books in 4 years. 59 of them have hit bestseller. Okay. Right? And that comes from positioning. That's knowing how to set up a book on Amazon and how to have a launch. Those 2 things together almost guarantee a bestseller. Okay. Some authors. This is the piece that I usually share in yesterday's workshop. It's one of the things to help solidify our author authority. I teach this, and it's in a video that's in our community. If you want to just take a screenshot of it and try to start answering these questions for yourself, so you have a single sentence that is your authority statement, it'll help solidify, I am the authority on this thing. I have the right to speak about this thing. I'm not going to get into it today. I'm not going to teach about it because we've run a little bit long and I want to have time but take a screenshot if you want. It'll be in the replay if you need. This will also be in the community so you can dig into it. And a lot of people who have been in the community for a while have practiced this. It can take a couple of revisions. It took me ages to get mine, right? A couple more authors holding their books, doing book events. Almost everybody already joined the writers community yesterday. If when you're in there, you feel like you want more support on writing your book, reach out. It's usually $149. I will extend that $99 offer to anybody who's been on these calls. Just let me know if you are interested and we'll go from there. I blazed through a lot of that. That's the super high level. You have multiple publishing options. Traditional, self-published. You can absolutely self-publish your book on Amazon. I very highly recommend that you hire an editor, cover designer, and a formatter at the very least. And then read up on how to set up your book on Amazon. Okay. If you work with a hybrid company, make sure you know what they offer, what they don't offer, what's included, what's not included, and how all that works. Okay. I see some questions, but I want to open it up. We'll spend maybe another 10 minutes if people have very specific questions, and I want to make sure that I come back to some of the questions that have been dropped in the chat. what's coming up for you? Questions that you still have. Samantha's got a question. What would be the best platform to use for self-publishing? I would recommend Amazon because this is where most people still buy their books. I would recommend at least a paperback and ebook version of your book. They also do really decent hardcovers. Okay. But each of those needs a different cover design. That's 3 different cover designs. If you want to do audio, it becomes a 4th cover design. When you hire a cover designer, remember that you want 4 different designs. They're different sizes, they're different shapes, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So ebook and paperback at a very minimum. Okay. Amazon is good. Another platform that we even use is called Ingram. Ingram distributes to bookstores and libraries. Amazon does not. The reason David's book, I don't have it right here. The reason David's book is on the required reading list at Columbia University and the Wharton School of Economics is because his book is available through Ingram. No school, no school is going to buy for their bookstore. No bookstore is going to buy books off of Amazon and then sell them. They won't make any profit. They can't keep their doors open that way. So that somebody has a question.
Hi, Sierra.
Hi.
I'm Leah.
Hi, Leah.
I was wondering about IBSNs and if we're able to like. Okay, so I'm ready to take it all on my own, and I want it.
This thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where to get it, and
Yep.
I don't necessarily want to do mine with Amazon because I do want my publishing rights. So, how can you do that without using platforms like that? And if it's possible.
Oh, yeah. So I love this question. Bowker, BOWKER, is a ISBN number distribution warehouse. An ISBN number costs $125. You'll need one for your ebook. You'll need one for your paperback. Probably one for, if you publish on Audible, which is part of Amazon, they give you an ISBN number because they hold your rights. Okay.
Right.
If you don't have your ISBN number, they have your ISBN number, which is like your fingerprint. Each book gets its own fingerprint. Okay. Each one of these costs $125. You can buy 10 of them for a discount, but then you have 10 ISBN numbers. Okay. Just so you know. We had an author who absolutely did not want to publish on Amazon. We published through Ingram. The reason Amazon is because any book that's ever come out, Amazon's just a bookstore and they will leech off of any book that's ever come out. Barnes and Noble does the same thing. Target does the same thing. Walmart does the same thing. Which is exciting. You're like, oh my God, my book's on the Barnes and Noble website because they want to make $5 off of my book. Amazon will suck you up into their universe and your book will be available on Amazon whether you want to or not. Unless you print it and have boxes in your garage and sell them off your website, which you can absolutely do. But then you have to go to the post office every other day.
But does that mean I still have the publishing or still they have them if I have my own IBSN?
This is great. ISBN numbers mean and copyright. You own those things. Right. You can publish with Amazon and still own the copyright and still own the rights to your book. They own the right to distribute as long as you give them the right to distribute, but they don't own the content. Okay. They do have your permission to print and distribute. That's all that Amazon does. They print and distribute and they take a cut like a bookstore because every bookstore needs to keep their doors open, yada, yada. And I for all the things against Amazon, I love the fact that I don't have a garage full of books and that I don't have to go to the post office. I love that, right? And I love that I get, sometimes it's embarrassing, but I'll get like 37 cents from Amazon EU because one person in the entire European Union bought one of my ebooks this month. Like, cha-ching, okay, got it. But I'll get, because Amazon, every country they distribute in pays out separately. So it's still once a month, I get like 17 transactions. And some of them are really not worth sending me, but they do anyway. So it's still not a perfect system.
Right.
You can go super, super indie guerrilla, but it will lower your reach unless you have a massive influencing, massive, like, I've got a following, I've got an email list, I've got all these millions of followers on other social networks, and then I'm willing to take 150 books to the post office every Friday and I just do this, which would be awesome, right? And then you
Yeah.
will make $15 per copy, but you'll still also need to have them printed. You need to pay up front to have all your books printed. And then it's just like one more thing that you're spending money on. The print on demand is a newer technology which has completely revolutionized publishing
Mhm.
because somebody orders your book, it's sent to the printer, it's printed, and it's shipped.
Mhm.
There's no waste of resources. And I'm not trying to justify it because there's some things out there that are still messy, but
Mhm.
I do want you to know there's nothing worse than being like, I'm going to work around the system and I'm not going to be on Amazon and I'm going to do all this hard work to make this effort and then see your book on Amazon.
Yeah. So
Right?
is there any version of this where you can do an ebook without them? Or is
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. You can absolutely put an ebook on your website, download here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you want to stay away from all of that, explore those options. Yeah, for sure. And
Thank
I
you.
hope I haven't like totally been a downer.
No, you were really
Okay.
insightful. Yeah, it was really insightful. Thank you.
Sometimes I feel like part of my job is crushing our illusions. Not
Yeah, I
not
would rather not live in la la land than, I would much rather live in reality than fantasy land. So
especially if you're going to make effort to live in some reality. I want to make sure you know where those edges are so that it's heartbreaking to find it out about it after the fact, right?
yeah.
I spent all this money, I did all this effort to do it this way, and here I still am. What's happening now, and this is an industry unfortunate situation, is there's so much technology and there's so many sort of leeching
Mhm.
kinds of situations where like if it's available somewhere, I hear these questions all the time in author and publishing communities of like, I found my book on a platform I didn't put it on. What can I do about it? Like, sort of nothing. But especially if it's a physical book, they're printing that book through Ingram or Amazon, and then they're distributing it for you. So they're still really only making the $2 or $3, and you are still making a sale. I know that that's not the only thing people are in it for, but
Right.
it's a win some, lose some kind of thing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I don't want to hog up the whole entire thing, but the last question is, how do you feel about AI and putting feedback, getting feedback, and the ethical and
Yeah,
uh,
great question.
things
That's
about
another like 90-minute conversation to
okay.
start.
I didn't even realize AI did that. What do you feed the
Oh,
document into a
yeah.
reader and then
Oh,
ask for
yeah.
feedback? Oh,
Oh,
gotcha.
yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Edit this for me, for me.
Yep.
Let someone else read it and publish it before me because now
Oh,
it's in the
wow.
ether. Like that's not what you type in as a prompt, but that's the consequence of like I've
That's
shared,
what's gonna happen.
right? So some of it I think it's amazing, and some of it I think it is rightfully something that we should be cautious about. I think as an ideation tool and like a brainstorming, get the ball rolling. Personally, I really enjoy that element. I'm thinking about this. I'd like some ideas to get me started to think about this. What else is already out there about this, that, and the other? Can you review sort of like market research? Can you be my administrative assistant and like look at all this stuff for me? It gets my artistic juices flowing.
Mhm.
And then I want to cut that relationship and keep my artistic juices to myself.
Mm.
That's my personal take on it. I know that there's a lot of debate in lots of ways. So without opening up that major can of worms, I would just say I am not 100% in either camp. I think ethical use will be a thing that we will be dealing with for generations. And we're like going in blind, but we're going all not 2 feet in. We're like deep end jump in. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you something that happened though. My son had showed me this thing that you can like feed material into and it'll tell you if it's AI generated.
yeah.
And I fed something in that I had completely written and it said it was 80% AI generated.
Which is super interesting too. And it's not a perfect system. I used to be a high school teacher even before this, and the level of plagiarism, like even in like the late 90s and early 2000s, was significant. I am so
Mhm.
glad I'm not a high school teacher right now. Just side
Oh,
note.
I bet.
Oof.
I have a quick question about
yeah.
the names from earlier.
Okay.
Do you recommend changing the names to protect the guilty? I mean, it's not like people couldn't figure out who it is eventually if they wanted to.
There's a lot of things I would definitely have you look up, like libel, and know what are the laws, what are you saying somebody did, and what could you be legally accountable for if.
What I found was since it's my
What?
story, I
Yeah.
can say
Yeah.
it and it wouldn't be
For sure.
liable.
No. And that's, I always just have people, instead of me just saying something and then having you run with it, I want every single person to have their own accountability and like do their own research, because every
Absolutely.
situation is a little bit different. If you're worried about it, change the name, make them older, make them younger, give them a different career, change two of their, demographics. No, not a tax accountant, like an ice cream shop owner. You think this is you? It's not you. If you say it's you, then you just outed yourself.
Well,
Right?
but the thing is, I'm talking about like my mom and my ex-husband,
Yeah,
so they're going to figure out who that is.
fair enough.
eventually.
Fair enough, right? But here's another thing that comes up. If you didn't want to have me write about it, then you should have done it differently.
Facts. Gotcha. Okay.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Absolutely.
And it goes both ways. I've screwed up. I've hurt people. If they want to write about it, then they're going to write about it. Okay. There's two sides to every story. And so it's just like a bunch. It gets really interesting. But my advice to authors is always like tweak enough of the details so that, yeah, this really important person in my life. If it's your husband, ex-husband, yeah, the people who know, they know. But you're not writing for the people in it's not your journal, right? You're not writing for your inner circle. You're writing for the
Right.
people who don't know, so that
Right.
they can learn the lessons that we've all learned together.
And hopefully avoid them.
Or at least have a really
The
great book to
pitfalls,
read
the
to guide them
pitfalls, not
through
the
it, right?
lessons.
Fair enough. And we all make mistakes. I am right in the middle of a mistake, right? And so on a very steep learning curve, and I screwed up. And we do, right? Not justifying whatever, because I don't know what you want to write about. But it's just so interesting to be on a different side of a situation too, and just be like, yep, okay, this is we're learning, okay? With all things in the publishing process, I want to share my mistakes with you in the writing process so that I can save you 10 years. I want to share my mistakes with you in the publishing process when I was querying agents, when I was offered a deal. I almost signed a deal with a company that was like, we're going to give you 5% of the royalties. You submit your manuscript. No, we will never share an email address with you'll never be able to contact any of us by email. You can have a relationship with our platform. And I was like, yeah, no, thanks. This is my baby. I'm not like putting my baby through a wood chipper. It's exactly what it felt like. But I was so excited to have a publishing deal. But then I read it and I was like, oh, ouch, no. So like those, if I can share any of like my heartache to save you anything, right, Leah? Like, I want to make sure that you don't throw down and create this thing and just because you didn't have the right piece of information, be heartbroken later. I'd rather like make you sad a tiny bit today so you can make better choices tomorrow. Is that fair? I feel horrible saying that. Okay. Other questions? We're really at the top of the hour. There's so many great questions. Okay, reputable cover designers. I have one that I work with out of the UK. I'm happy, Rochelle, to connect you with him. We have a number of designers. It's also a cover designer is an artist. I'm so frustrated by this because I sort of want them to be machines. I want a great cover artist to make me a design for a genre that they don't specialize in, and that doesn't work. Okay. the cover design is such an intimate process. It is the face of your baby. Your cover will communicate to your ideal reader, hopefully, this is what I'm about. I am for you. Okay. I think of cover design very much like dating profiles. If the first picture on a dating profile is not flattering, I mean, I can quickly, like, yep, nope, nope, left, left, left. You do the same thing with books. You go into a bookstore and you're like, I know that whole section's not even for me. Okay. And then you go to the section and you're like, oh, that one's interesting. That one's interesting. We know this process from the consumer side, but probably have not spent a bunch of time thinking about it. One of the challenges, so the challenge that starts next week in the writers community is actually a bookstore date. Take yourself to a bookstore. Start looking around. Monica's ready. Who's going to a bookstore with Monica? Buy a coffee, have too many pumps of whatever, and like the Chantilly cream and all the things, and like wander around your bookstore and notice where you're attracted. Notice where do you want your book to show up? What other books are there? Dress for the party, but don't wear the same dress as somebody else. That metaphor makes sense to people, okay? You don't want to be in that like who wore it better ever. You want to belong on that shelf and you want to very much stand out on your own. But I also, while you're there, I want you to start watching yourself be a selective reader. What are you into? What attracts you? What doesn't? And then reverse engineer that psychology so that as an author, you can be projecting and attracting the right people to your audience. This is what a good cover designer knows how to do. But if somebody does mostly like murder mysteries, and then Rochelle's going to ask that cover designer to do her poetry and self-help cover, we want to make sure that it doesn't read like it might be a murder mystery because the wrong people will pick it up, and you know what? They will hate it only because their expectations didn't match what they got, not because it's not amazing, right? So cover design is its own deep dive. Don't get me started. But I'm happy to put you in touch, Rochelle, with a couple of people. There's also a couple of like cover design clearinghouses, which is how I got my first cover design. I don't super love it, but it was almost like I had people competing. Like, here's what the book is about. Here's the genre, on your market, say go. But it was like, there's a chapter in here all about how nobody knows really this metaphor about butterflies and transformation. In the description that I sent designers, I was like, make sure you do not put a butterfly on the cover. And you know how many butterfly covers I got? Like 50%. And I think they read butterfly and then just put butterfly instead of do not do this thing. This is exactly what I'm not looking for. So it's cheaper and easier. And then you have to like sort through a lot of inane things. Okay. There's so many questions here and more are popping in. And last question, and then I am going to cut us off. But know that I love talking about books. You can't get me to shut up about it once you get me started. So reach out, stay in contact, make sure that you're part of our writers community. It's free. We're going to hang out there. You can reach out again. I have used Fiverr in the past. The reason again, yeah, Fiverr very much feels like dating, where you're like, I'm looking for a thing, and you look like you are that thing, but it's going to take a while to find out if you are. And there are some great people on Fiverr, and there are some, right? Like, it's if you're going to go full self-publishing, it's a great resource. Be very clear about what you want. Be very clear about your expectations. Ask a lot of questions, including, write this down, Anna, what format will I get the thing after you're done? Do I have access to the source files so I can have someone else work on it after the fact? Like all of that kind of stuff. If you have somebody do your cover and they just send you a PDF, but something's wrong with it, you have to go back to them and hire them to do it again. If you have
Okay.
the source file, you can and then do something else. You can have somebody else, like this is the oldest picture of me. Holy snakes. Okay. Like, I don't know what to do about that. Just before I printed this, I found 2 sentences. No, it wasn't this one. One of the sentences on the back here was here twice.
Oh, God.
The same sentence twice, right? And so like, ask a lot of questions. Don't just be like, "Ooh, I can get that for $99," and they'll have it
Yeah.
to me by Friday, because they might, but yeah. Okay. Link for yesterday's class. Jasmine, Juliana, the email with the replay went out to everybody yesterday for the replay. I think it went out yesterday.
Yes, with the link for this call.
It says that, but the replay for yesterday's session also went out. It says the page can't be found. It should just be something like Red Thread Books, right? Replay
Let me
2025.
check.
Okay.
Something
I'll
really
resend you the-
inspired. Okay.
Thank you.
I love that we spent an hour and 2 minutes talking about publishing. This is scratching the surface. By the time you publish your book, you will be an expert and know all sorts of things you didn't know you needed to know about publishing. If you are self-publishing, you will absolutely know the ins and outs of things you don't even know exist. I love that Leah was like, ISBN numbers. Yes, you will need to know how, not just like that you're having a baby, you will need to know how spinal column fluid is generated in your baby. You will need to know every single stage, not just like, I'm going to feel sick for the first 3 months, which again is a metaphor that tracks in the writing and publishing process. If you don't want to know all of this stuff, if you want advice, guidance, support, we're here. You can work with us. We can talk you through some of the publishing pieces. We offer editing. We offer cover design. If you need a piece of this stuff, we have people that can help. We do this full process also if you need it. But more than that, I really want you to be writing a book that you love, exploring your distribution channels so you can get the book out. I didn't say this yesterday, but when I started this company, it was an all-female publishing for authors, all-female led. And our mission was to support 10,000 women to become successful published authorpreneurs and thought leaders. Okay. That's still the goal, female or not. 10,000 new stories of voices that haven't been heard yet. I say this all the time. I don't really want to publish 10,000 books myself. I want you to have this motivation, the excitement that you came into this call with, the excitement you left yesterday with, of like, I can do this. I want to do this. I need to do this because people need what I've got. Okay. So there's been some downers in today, but I really want you to know the lay of the land. And I really hope that you are leaving with a sense of, okay, I'm not alone. I can do this. Anybody got that a little bit? Okay, there's some resigned nods. Okay. Thank you so much for showing up. I look forward to seeing you in the community. Send us questions anytime you need anything. This is what we're here for. Happy Valentine's Day. Oh, somebody's joining the call right now. Oh dear, time zones are, okay, doozy. I'll talk to you all later. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ciao.
You
Thank
too.
you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank
Thank you
you.
too.
Bye.